What's up, everybody? I know that we're already about a second week into September, but I still wanted to share with you all of the books that I read in August. It felt like I read a lot more than I did now that I'm looking back, but I got through 4 books and I just wanted to share my thoughts on them, and maybe you'll hear about something that you want to read. So this is my August 2017 wrap up. The first book that I read this month was Bang by Barry Lyga, and I gave this book a 4-star on Goodreads. The premise of this book is it's about a teenage boy who, when he was 4 years old, shot and killed his baby sister completely by accident. So now we're seeing him years later as he's coming into, I think, his senior year of high school, if I remember correctly, and we're seeing him dealing with the aftermath of all of that and seeing how it's affected him throughout his entire life and how it's all coming to a head. I thought it was a really good book. Obviously it deals with depression, and I will say warnings for if you're not okay with violence, guns, or suicide. If any of that is a trigger for you or it makes you uncomfortable, just be aware that it's about depression and all of those topics. I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was an interesting premise. I read Barry Lyga's I Hunt Killers series and I really liked that one, so I wanted to try another of his books, and this one seemed like it was kind of up my alley. I liked the main character, I liked all of the supporting characters, there is some diversity in it. He actually makes a friend who is Muslim, so it deals with some of the racial stereotyping, and I enjoyed reading it. It made me want to keep turning the page and keep reading, so that's why I gave it 4 stars. It didn't blow me away to having 5 stars, but in my book 4 stars is pretty darn good, so I would definitely recommend it. The second book that I read was Room by Emma Donoghue, and this book, if you haven't heard about it by now from the movie that was up for an Oscar last year or 2 years ago, and where the lead actress Brie Larson won for Best Actress for this film adaptation, it is a book about a young woman and her 5-year-old son who are trapped in an 11 by 11 room, and I'm not going to give you any more information than that because I don't want to ruin anything for you. I gave this book 4 stars as well. I really liked it. I've been wanting to read it for a long time because I thought the movie seemed interesting, and obviously I wanted to read the book before I saw the movie. The book is super interesting because it is told from the perspective of her 5-year-old son, so you get a very childlike view of the world and of things and about all of these really intense topics. It's just really interesting and fresh to get it from the perspective of a 5-year-old child, and really I thought overall the 5-year-old child's perspective was well written. I work with kids like for my job every single day. Well, I had no trouble believing that it was written from the perspective of a 5-year-old who has been trapped in an 11 by 11 room his entire life. I definitely would recommend it. Again, I will give you some warnings. If kidnapping, rape, those kinds of things make you uncomfortable, please don't read or proceed with caution. After reading the book, I also watched the movie, and up on my blog I have a review kind of comparing the book to movie, so I kind of rate the book on its own, I rate the movie on its own, and then I rate it as an adaptation. So if you'd like to see a little bit more of that, I'm starting those kinds of reviews on my blog. So if you would like to check that out, I will link that down below and you can look at that. And I definitely would recommend the movie. I loved the movie. I also enjoyed the book, so I would recommend either or both even. I think both give you different perspectives enough that they're good together. The third book that I read is 4 Weeks and 5 People by Jennifer Yu. I believe this is a new book for just this year. I'm sorry that I don't have any of these books. I checked them all out from the library, so I can't show them to you, which is really a bummer. I really wish I had them physically in my hands, but I don't. Anyway, 4 Weeks and 5 People is about exactly what it sounds like. It's about 5 different teenagers who go away to a camp for people that have mental, emotional illness and issues. So we follow these 5 kids who are in a cabin together. The book alternates between their different perspectives, and it's following those 4 weeks of summer camp and kind of seeing how each person deals with their own illness and deals with the fact that they're at this camp. I gave this book a 4-star. Overall, I really thought it was a good book. I thought it was a very careful, true telling of kids that suffer from those different illnesses and disorders and things. It deals with male anorexia, which I know is something that should get more information because it doesn't just happen to girls, it happens to boys as well. So I appreciated that, and I also appreciated the handling of the character with OCD. I personally have OCD, so I totally understand all of the ins and outs of it from personal experience and from research, and I really appreciated that it was obvious that the author knew what she was talking about, because this character didn't have the stereotypical OCD tendencies, and she didn't also have all of them. There's a lot of different things that can set people with OCD off, lots of different obsessions and compulsions, and sometimes you have a bunch of them, sometimes you're really just focused on one or a few, and I really appreciated how she took a character, and rather than making her just kind of like encompass general OCD, she really focused in on like one part of it. Really made the character real and made her illness real to her and different from maybe the next person with OCD. It was definitely different than mine in the details. As for the rest of illnesses and disorders that the kids were dealing with, I can't really speak from personal experience, so I don't know how accurate they were. They seemed pretty accurate for me, from my experience with other people with them and just from what I've read and what I've heard. So maybe you need to read it and be the judge. Obviously, if those kinds of things will set you off, be careful reading it or don't read it. Another thing that I really, really loved about this book, and this will be the end of me talking about this book because I feel like I've talked about it for a while, by the end of the book, none of their problems are solved. And I think so often it really is like, oh yeah, we're gonna solve your mental illness problem, we're gonna cure your OCD in 4 weeks in this one little book because of XYZ, or we're gonna cure you of anorexia or depression, and that's just not, that's not the way life works. So I appreciated that by the end of this book, some of the characters had made progress, some of them didn't make any progress, some of them actually went back further, but I felt like that was really real because it wasn't like a magical, all 5 of these kids are cured and healed because of their friendships and bonds that they created at camp. It wasn't like that at all, which I really appreciated because I thought that was really real. It wasn't saying like, oh yeah, you go to this thing and you're gonna be cured, or yeah, you meet the right people and you're gonna be cured. That's just not how it works. They can help you, but it's not gonna be a magical, you know, suddenly you're over your depression or suddenly you're not obsessive compulsive anymore. That's just not the way it works. If it was, that would be really great, but unfortunately that's not how it works. Sometimes that's how it works in books and movies, but this book was not that way. Like, it was a real life ending. And the last book that I completed this month was Red Leaves by Thomas H. Cook. And now this book, I'm not going to say too much about it, but it is a mystery thriller. It's from the perspective of this dad. One night his son is going to babysit a neighbor's 8-year-old in the morning. The neighbor calls, their 8-year-old is gone, she wasn't in her bed in the morning. So it's pursuing, trying to find who did it, where she is, and throughout this process, obviously his son becomes the #1 suspect because he was the last one to see her. So while the father is dealing with that and the family's dealing with that and all of this drama going on in the town that they're in, it's also really a look at the father discovering things about his family that he didn't realize were going on, and new things. So it's more than just like a murder mystery type thing. It really is a look at how one event can just kind of open your eyes. So I gave this 5 stars because I finished it and I was like, what? So it was really good. The mystery was good, I thought. At least I was content with it. And I appreciated that it wasn't just like a straight up mystery, like there was that aspect, but really it was more just digging into people and families and understanding why people do things, or maybe people seem one way to us but they're really another way. It was not a happy book, so if you want a happy book, please do not read this book because it is not happy. I will not tell you how it's not happy. I mean, obviously a little girl is kidnapped, but it is not a happy book. There are some happy aspects of it, but for the most part it is not a happy book. So if you're looking for a happy-go-lucky book, don't read this book. So those were the 4 books that I read in the month of August. I hopefully will read more in September, but we'll see what happens. If you have read any of these books, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of them. If you agree with my opinions, if you disagree, I am more than happy to open up a dialogue about that with you, because I like to hear what people don't like about things that I like, and I also like talking about things that both of us like. So I would love to hear from you. If you're interested in these books and have more questions, you can comment below. Please like this video if you liked it, and feel free to subscribe to my channel. Below I will have Goodreads links for all of these books. I will also, like I said, have a link to my blog, so please check that out if you want. I'm trying to be more regular at updating that, as well as posting videos here. And I will see you next time. Bye!